Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, adults of all ages, welcome to the Sideshow.
And we are back.
I like that intro.
I can tell. You're over there singing and dancing and shit.
I'm having fun. I imagine myself with a top hat.
Yeah?
Yeah.
A big crooked top hat, like sitting kind of cocked.
Right. I don't know if I want it to be like new and shiny or like old and worn.
I think old and worn would probably fit that song.
Yeah.
A little patch on it that's not the right color. Not the opposite color, but like a slightly lighter tone.
I'm running with a whole thing now in my mind. Like...
Could do a cosplay that's part Alex from Clockwork Orange and part Hugh Jackman from the Carnival movie. I can't think of the best show ever. There it is.
Oh, I've never seen either of those.
Oh, well.
Clockwork Orange has been on my list for like 10 years.
Yeah, well, it is on our list.
It is on our list.
It's one of those things for us to watch. But
fantastic.
So we normally have tons of emails and all kinds of shit, but we've been recording for 3 days now, and we've gotten probably 20 emails knocked out. That's a lie. It's probably been like 12 or 13, but
yeah,
it feels like 20 because it's been 3 days of recording.
It has. It's all just been one long day with a nap in between.
Yep.
One long day with a nap in between. That sounds better.
Yes, it does. We are going to address some emails, but before we do that, I want to address an email that we got that says that we are not as inclusive to the LGBTQ community as we should be. And I would like to point out that we have actually responded to emails from lesbians.
We have.
And they've been on the podcast.
And that's only because they've messaged us.
Right.
Our content is purely what we get emailed. Mm-hmm. Outside of that, we're speaking on personal experience. So if trans people haven't emailed us, or a gay couple, 2 men haven't emailed us, we're not going to touch that subject.
Right. There's no reason to make shit up.
Right.
We are...
especially just to get views.
Right. There was also a conversation, because this is the third time we've had to record this. We've been having mic issues. I made a point the first time, I'll make it again. In the event that we were getting married, probably 40 to 50% of the people that would be invited to our wedding, if we were to renew our vows, would be gay.
Yeah.
And the people that got in wedding invites, everyone would get the exact same wedding invite to say, hey, we're getting married. Come and celebrate with us. I'm not going to send out different invitations to different sexual preferences.
Right.
Everyone gets the same invitation. So if you feel like you need it communicated to you in a different manner to absorb it, you need to find another channel.
Or you can email us your own story.
Yeah.
And then we'll talk on your situation with the people that are involved without naming.
Right. I'm not going to get too much further into that because I'm going to find myself getting real annoyed.
Right.
I don't think that people are special. If you are gay or not gay, it makes no difference to me. You are the same organic matter as everyone else on the planet.
You are not special. You are not a beautiful or unique snowflake. You are the same decaying organic matter as everything else.
I'm going to judge you on your quality of character,
That's
not
right.
on your labels.
That's right. And everything that we talk about can be applied universally across all human beings. And if you need some sort of special banner or a circus welcoming you in, you can make that shit up for yourself. I'm not doing it.
Right.
I'm just not.
You know,
So-
it hurt my feelings a little bit to be more inclusive.
Right.
You know, I like to think of myself as a very supportive person.
Yeah.
And if you're a good person, you have good quality of character, and you have good morals, I am all about you. If you are fighting for your happiness and you're taking steps to make yourself better, I don't care if you're gay, straight, trans, changing your skin color, want to tattoo your eyeballs, whatever you want to do, if
Right.
it's going to make you happy and nobody's getting hurt and you're watering your universe,
Yep.
hell yeah. I'm just not going to go out of my way, especially speaking in my, not my preferences,
Our personal lives.
and our personal lives or our experiences. Like we've said, I've never had a gay relationship. I've never been in a relationship with another woman. I don't know the struggles that come with being in a gay relationship and being seen in public. I can't speak on that. And if that's what you're looking for, like you said, you have to find content creators who can relate to that and speak on those experiences.
Right.
If I pull something out of my ass and make something up, then I'm going to get attacked for it because I'm lying.
Right.
I'm trying to appeal to a community that I'm not in. Queer baiting. I'm not trying to get labeled with all of those things.
Right. It's just, be a decent human being. We're being decent human beings. Everybody gets along. Good time.
Right. And just because one instance involves a woman and a man, it's the communication aspect that we're focusing on.
Right.
And communication be applied to any situation. If you relate to a scenario, no matter who is a part of it, and you relate to it as something that's currently happening or if experienced in the past, it can be applied to you.
Right.
You can take all the tools and integrate it into your own life.
Yeah. You know, we got a lot of the people going, what about the gay community? It happened a lot when we first started building our TikTok.
Yeah.
And we ignored it for a little bit. And then I finally addressed it because it was happening on every video.
Regularly, yeah.
And I was like, guys, why does this matter so much to you? Like, what does it matter what I speak on? I'm not a part of that community. I don't have a fucking opinion on it. If you're a good person, you're a good person. If you define who you are based off of an entire community of people, that's a problem. Because you are an individual.
What isn't that like hive mind or something?
It
like
is. It is a hive mind. It absolutely is a hive mind.
Like,
I don't
where's
believe
the
in that.
individuality.
Right. And then, you know, we continued making that TikTok. It was a whole drawn out thing. And then we got a huge, like, thank you from all of the people who follow us who are gay. Thank you for making us feel safe and included. You are safe and included. I'm not, you know what I mean? I don't do the bully thing. I don't do the hate thing.
Right.
You know, if we're going to hate everything. We're not going to just pick and choose. Like,
Right.
if we're going to burn it down, let's just burn it all down.
Yeah.
Fuck it.
And, you know, it's not like we get emails from gay couples and go, oh, we're not reading this on the podcast.
No, it just,
Specifically because they're gay. We would never do that. Now, if it's like childhood essay
yeah.
across the board, that is unacceptable to us.
Right.
We can't read that on the podcast.
Well, we don't want to read that shit. When it comes to children being messed with, I can't either. I don't even want to hear it. Like,
right. So the reason I brought that up is because she said inclusive. When someone says be more inclusive, in my mind, that means we're excluding something. So like an intentional exclusive is
DV, SA, and anything that's got to do with children.
Right. Nothing to do with sexual preference, nothing to do with how you identify yourself. In my mind, the things that we choose to exclude is very logical,
Right.
can't handle very serious scenarios.
And a lot of it's personal.
It is, yeah.
Because we relate too much to this shit. Good on that.
I just can't speak to it. And if that's something that this person is looking for, because we do speak a lot on mental health, not just on relationships.
Right. But mental health is mental health.
Right. But if they're looking to be related to on a certain level with a certain experience, I can't relate to that.
But we can't relate to a lot of the things that we read.
Right.
My borderline doesn't give a shit if I'm straight or gay. Borderline is borderline. I just, you guys are looking for a welcome party and a rollout mat and a red carpet. I'm not doing that. Everybody's going to get treated equally around here. If you have a problem with that and you want that special treatment, go somewhere else. You want equality, that's equality. You want special treatment, that's not equality.
Yeah.
That's you looking for a leg up just because you feel like you're some special person. You're not. I'm fucking no one. We are no one. We have a little bit of people that follow us on the internet because they like the shit we talk about, but beyond that, we are just normal people.
Yeah, we were actually very recluse people.
I've left the house once in the last 2 weeks, and it was to run to the bank.
Yeah.
I don't like the outside world.
Me either.
Okay, all right, let's get into an email so that I don't get frustrated. I meant what I said about being inclusive, guys. This is a very safe space for everyone. We don't give a shit who you, as long as you're not fucking harming children, you're welcome here.
Right.
Or beating on like women. We don't do that either.
Any type of DV for men or women.
Yeah.
If there's a woman and you're beating on your man because you know he's not going to hit you back, you're a piece of shit.
Agreed.
That inclusive thing is really just getting to me.
Right. It's a buzzword. It's just like calling everyone a narcissist now.
Right.
And I'm going to hit this just because I brought it up. You know that everyone on the planet has a degree of narcissism.
Yes.
When you take a test to find out how narcissistic you are, it starts at 1, not at 0. So even if you scale 1 all the way across the test, you have a bit of narcissism in you. So for you to be like, oh, he's a narcissist, so are you. Shut the fuck up.
Right. You said it was a survival thing, right?
It is.
Okay.
Narcissism starts with a survival instinct first. You
right.
can
Did
Google
you say
it.
that?
Yeah, I didn't this time, but we've talked about it.
I wanted to make sure I wasn't thinking about something differently.
Yeah, Google it. Google it. Narcissism, survival.
Yeah.
Those 2 words. It'll pull up all kinds of articles.
Yep.
But people don't want to do that. They want to Google narcissism to find out how they can use that buzzword properly in a sentence and not look like an idiot.
Yeah. Onto an email.
Yes, ma'am.
Like it when you say that. Longtime listener, first time commentator. That's the header. Hey y'all, I've been a fan for a while, even before the podcast started. Ooh, so you've been here for a hot minute.
Yeah, all I heard in my head was the radio call from like the 90s.
Yeah.
Hey, long-time listener, first-time caller.
Oh man, that makes me feel old. I'm just having a flashback to the 90s.
Oh, okay.
Because I heard that a lot on commercials and on the radio and shit.
Mm-hmm.
Wild.
You'll never know the struggle of sitting on your finger on the record button on your boombox, waiting for the radio to play the song that you've been trying to record. So you just sit there waiting and waiting and waiting so you can get it right at the beginning of the song.
No. I had CDs.
There are people listening to this right now that are like, damn, bro, you really just do that out there, huh? You all are feeling old as fuck right now. Yep. Y'all had Napster. We had the radio.
We are one sentence in and we've already derailed.
That's fine. I'm enjoying myself. That's all that matters.
I just find it fun. Like, we really can't just focus.
We did that. We did 5 emails in an hour and a half.
We did.
And I was fucking miserable the whole time. And I was angry by the time we were done.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm good on that. I'm going to make sure that I have fun. Because if I'm not enjoying this, I'm not going to want to do it.
Now that the podcast is out, I listen religiously. I want to give my story. All I ask is if it is read, our names are changed or omitted. Here we go.
So we don't ever include anyone's names unless they specifically say in the email to include names. Otherwise, we just remove them or make shit up.
Yeah.
So you guys don't have to say that stuff.
My boyfriend, 37, and I, 36, have known each other since we were 12. When we were kids, we were always together, off and on with each other. This man was my first everything, and we have loved each other for a long time, even though back then we didn't know it was love. Fast forward to adult life, he was locked up at the age of 17 and we lost touch. He went to TDCJ, Texas Department of Criminal Justice, and was gone for several years. After I graduated high school, I became pregnant with my daughter and had her at the age of 19, and her father was not involved. In 2010, I'm going to call him Joe. In 2010, Joe was released from prison, and shortly after, he got married. We found each other on Facebook and reconnected. We grew our friendship, but quickly knew our feelings for each other were still there. We never saw each other in person, but we definitely had an emotionally involved relationship. I am not proud of it and know it was not the right thing. I've been hurt and cheated on in the past, and hurting another woman is not something I ever wanted to do.
It's funny that that's where that email went because I was getting ready to say that.
I was just getting ready to say they reconnected and knew instantly. I was like, y'all were emotionally cheating.
Yeah, but when you reconnected, you did so because of that, not because you were looking for your friend. So whoever reached out originally and sent that friend request, it wasn't just to see how they were doing. There was intent behind that.
Yeah.
Yep.
So it wasn't an emotionally involved relationship. You emotionally cheated. Well, he emotionally cheated.
Yeah.
In late 2011, he was out with some friends. Before I keep going, I just kind of shit on her a little bit. I want to say I'm glad that you acknowledge.
Yeah, it's a big deal.
And you take ownership and accountability in that. That's a big deal.
Yep.
It is.
It absolutely is. And it was also, 12 years ago?
It was 13 years ago.
Yeah.
You know, at this point, you wouldn't even have to feel bad about that anymore. It's over a decade. You can acknowledge that you've done it, know that it's wrong, but you still shouldn't feel guilt about that.
Yeah.
In late 2011, he was out with some friends. A fight started and he stabbed somebody in the arm. He was still on probation, so he is sent back to TDCJ and he has been incarcerated since.
Oh, shit.
We stayed in connection for many years, but as time went on, I fell off. One major reason was due to a guy I was seeing who did not agree with me having contact with somebody who was in prison.
We've had this conversation in the past about people who are willing to go to prison or die for their woman.
Right, but they won't stay while they're in prison.
It never happens.
Mm-hmm.
It never happens. The outside world keeps moving. People get lonely and they're able to move on. It happens every single time.
Right, and when there's that time separation, even they can claim that they still love you, but out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah, and it absolutely is. It absolutely is. I'm curious to know if that... So I know in Florida, if you commit a crime and you get 10 years and you do... If you get 10 years on probation and you do 9 years, 364 days on probation and violate, you have to do the full 10 years in prison. That's the way it works here.
Wow.
And unless something's changed since I was on paper, that's the way that worked.
That's crazy.
So I wonder if that's how it is in Texas and he's doing his time from the new charge of stabbing somebody.
Or the old charge.
With the old charge, or if this is just the time for stabbing somebody.
That's a good question.
Yeah, because there are states where if you violate, you just have to finish off your time. So if you did 10 years on probation and you did 9 years of it before you violated, you only have to do a year.
Mm-hmm.
And in Florida, if you get a year and a day, it's prison time. So if your sentence is less than that, you normally don't even send you. They just keep you in county.
That's wild. Then one thing I regret is letting another man tell me who I could and couldn't have in my life. Fast forward to late 2021, I am sitting at my house and all of a sudden I get an overwhelming feeling that I need to write. Did I say Joe?
Mm-hmm.
That I need to write Joe because she wrote the real name, so I'm making it up. Needed to write Joe and see how he was. Within a few days, we talked on the phone for the first time in 4 years, and as soon as I heard his voice, all emotions came flowing back.
You know how that's for somebody who's been incarcerated.
Mm-hmm.
Those letters, when they show up, when you're not expecting a letter from somebody from the outside world, like that's a huge moment for you.
Yeah.
Because you are forgotten when you're in there most of the time.
Yeah.
And like there, you get to the point where like you're looking for pen pals and you're looking for people to write, and like you try to find other people with brothers and sisters and cousins that you can write letters to just to have some sort of like life. Yeah. So when you get those random letters from somebody and then get that phone call where you're actually able to talk to them, or you put them on the visitation list and they're able to come see you, that's a big deal.
Well, I'm also thinking, I don't know where the rest of this goes. I would be devastated if I were him. Like, they reconnected right after he got out. He gets arrested, goes again. They're in contact for a few years. He watches her fall off, get with another guy, completely cuts contact. She leaves that relationship, reaches back out to him. He's all excited again.
He may have cut her off, though. You don't know how that works.
Well, it said she fell off.
Right, I know that. But there are a lot of times where the interactions become too much for people and they tell them, don't come in, don't come in here. I'm not going to call. Don't write, that kind of thing. It does happen. It doesn't happen all the time, but it does happen.
Right.
Especially if you hear them like, hey, they say, I'm going to start dating somebody. At that point, you're like, look, you just need to move on. I'm not getting out of here anytime soon. Just go live your life.
Okay. I mean, I understand. I agree with that. I can foresee that being a thing. I was speaking more on what she had said.
Right. I know that. I'm just devil's advocate.
We started off super slow and just talked every few days or a couple times a week. We discussed what had happened between him and his ex-wife, legally separated and going through a divorce, and me and the guy I had been seeing. We talked all about the things that had happened in the last 4 years. At some point, we both decided it was time to give us a shot. We have now been back together for just over a year and are looking at him coming home at the end of 2024. While this isn't a guarantee, we are hopeful and doing everything we can in order for him to make parole. When I first heard y'all's TikToks, it struck me as there are things y'all do that we have openly spoke about doing. He is very much a traditional man. He is a provider and always has been. He always opened the door, made the money, took care of vehicles, etc. Granted, this was the last time he was home, but it's all topics that we have discussed. He also has never had a problem coming home and cooking a meal or starting the laundry. We have both had to work very hard on communicating with each other in order for us to both understand what is being said. Of course, our current situation makes things hard, but it's also allowing us to build a better foundation. I was going to say that. Because they have such limited time talking together, they're not going to be talking about frivolous things.
Well, I mean, they still get to write letters. So
Right.
you are going to be talking, and those letters matter, especially because that takes time to write those. Although I'm almost positive that prisons have emails now, so that might even be the thing. I actually think that a lot of the prisons got rid of the physical mailing system. I don't know. This situation for me, because I've been in his shoes, is difficult for me to like really have a conversation about, because things are not going to be the same when he gets out.
No. And he's been in for a while.
Yeah, it'll be 12 years.
So
if he gets out in 2024.
Okay.
So take 37 away from 2023.
Right, it's 1980 something.
Okay.
1986.
Okay, so he's born in 86. He went to jail at 17. So what's 1986 plus 17?
2003.
Okay, so he did 7 years. His first stint was 7 years.
So he did 7 years. He was out for a year, and then he went back in 2011. He's looking at 2024.
Right.
So that's
still his entire adult life.
He's done almost 20 years in prison.
Yeah.
So he really has no idea what's going on in the outside world.
Nope.
The last 20 years has been absolutely insane. He got to experience 1 year out of that.
And went right back in.
Right. That's going to be really hard for him when he gets out. That's going to be a massive adjustment.
Mm-hmm. You know, the amount of people who go to prison and get out and go back is super high, right? Like the turnover rate is stupid high.
Right, because it's not about reforming them.
Right.
It's just about putting them away so they're not a nuisance and then releasing them and letting them do it again.
It's about the income. Okay, I'm way wrong.
No, what is it?
This is in 2005. The state prison cost per inmate was $19,000.
Okay.
In Florida.
In Florida.
And there was 100,000 people in prison at that time frame, and that's what the state was paying the prison system per inmate. Mm-hmm. That's obviously going to have changed, and the more prisons that go private, it's a corporation. They're making money off of inmates. They actually charge you to be in there. Yeah.
They charge you? Mm-hmm. What, do you get like a bill once you're released?
No. Well, sometimes yes. But if you get like commissary money, so like let's say somebody puts money in your commissary so that you can buy underwear and shit. Mm-hmm. If you have a debt that you owe to the prison, they take that money. You don't get it. It goes into your commissary and it immediately gets pulled out and the prison takes the money for it.
So owing a debt would be like going to the dentist?
Well, I mean, that's a bill. The state takes care of that.
Okay.
I actually know people who have gotten dentures and shit just because they went there with fucked up teeth. But it's a cost per day.
Oh, okay. So like daily living.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. I have to cut a lot of this out.
Yeah. So there's not a question here.
Okay.
She just goes on to say, all that they have right now is communication, and what we are doing is really helping her. She's recognizing things in her past, and she's working through a lot of it, and he's being really patient with her. And he's super excited that she's super excited about us, and he wants to implement everything, the check-ins, like he's on board with all of it.
He can listen to us on iHeartRadio.
Yeah.
Yeah, because our podcast is on iHeartRadio, and a lot of the prison systems, that's the only thing they can get.
I did not know that.
Yep.
This email's crazy. People's lives are crazy.
Yep.
I mean, I'm glad it's working out for them. Like, yeah, a lot of shitty things happen, but it's getting better. 1 year till he hopefully gets out.
Yep. Let
me know if he gets out.
I'm almost positive it was my phone that was making that noise.
Yeah.
Yep, because when I moved it over here, it stopped doing it. Got your email ready?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
You got it together? Yeah, I do. Hello, I came across your TikTok page and I thoroughly enjoy the content and conversations you two have. I totally subscribe to your YouTube, by the way.
We love that.
Thank you. Definitely means a lot. It's raw and relatable, so I was hoping maybe you could give me help with an ongoing issue I've been dealing with for the last 3 years. Or maybe this could just be a place for me to vent anonymously because I don't have anyone to talk to. Oh, that makes me sad.
You got us. We're obviously listening. You have our undivided attention until this email's over.
That's crazy to think about.
Yep. We just got another Patreon. So now you have our undivided attention until the next Patreon notification comes up.
Yes. All right. Strap in because this might be a long one and I apologize. It's not that long of a one.
That's good.
So no high expectations of...
Whenever they say it's going to be a long one, my expectations are never high because they're never long.
Yeah.
It's the ones that I'm not expecting to be long. They're like 15 paragraphs. I'm like, whoa, okay.
Yeah.
Get it. Let's go.
Those are the ones that take us like an hour and 45 minutes to get through.
For a single email, like episode 11.
Whew. That was intense.
Or no, episode 10. Episode 10 was one email.
Yeah, that was episode.
Yeah, episode 11 was 2.
That was yesterday.
3. It was 3 yesterday.
What's today?
Yeah.
What day are we on?
Day 3 of recording. It's Saturday.
It's Saturday.
Mm. This is what we've done since Thursday. Pretty much nonstop. Minus a little bit of editing here and there.
Yeah. Crazy.
Yep.
I'm excited to get back to learning chess stuff.
Yeah? You're just determined to beat me, huh?
I don't want to beat you. I want to impress you. Mm-hmm. I talked a lot of shit.
You did talk a lot of shit.
I thought
and then
I was
fool's
good.
Mated you.
You did. You fool's mated me. You were like, that's the fool's mate. And I was like, it worked. I'm the fool. I got a kick out of that.
Did you?
I'm excited to like...
You looked at me and you're like, you just did that in 4 moves. I was like, well, you weren't paying attention.
I thought I was. Clearly I wasn't. I can't recall where I was going with that. My goal is to be able to impress you. Mm-hmm. Oh, and then I want to get you like mentally fatigued, and I want to get you with that.
With Fool's Mate?
Yeah.
It won't happen.
So definitive.
Yeah. Because I watch for it.
You watch for it.
I do watch for it. because
Okay.
it doesn't take much to trap someone with that. If you can't move your king, it's over.
My boyfriend and I have been together for the last 6 years and have a 2-year-old daughter together. Unfortunately, the last 3 years have been really hard on me mentally and physically. The amount of times I have to keep repeating myself of the same things is frustrating.
What are you repeating yourselves about?
I was just scanning to see if there's any indication of what she is complaining about, and I don't see it.
Okay, so then how are we supposed to help that scenario?
We do need examples.
And verbatim.
Right. I believe I've said this prior. It might have been in the disclaimer at one point. If you can give what a typical conversation is, or an argument between you two, what one says and what the other says, almost verbatim, we could tell you where the breakdown's at.
Right. This is, we eventually are going to have to start doing couples calls.
Yeah.
I really, really don't want to fucking commit to that time frame.
I mean, right
Like,
now it's impossible.
There's no way. Not unless we were charging $150 to $200 a session and we were booked.
Yeah.
Because I'm making too much money with the other businesses to walk away from that to this.
Yeah. So it goes in one ear and out the other. We have been living at the same house for the last 6 years, and he still has to ask me, where do the scissors go? Where does this cup go? The same place it has for the last 6 years. That was kind of irrelevant. Ha. That was just supposed to be one of the smaller examples that happens between him and I.
Like, you should know where your cups go.
Yeah.
Even if you don't do the dishes, you have to get the cup out to use it. At that point, I feel like he's just trying to be funny or annoying. Or your partner is trying to be funny or annoying.
Or he knows it gets under your skin.
Right.
If he's doing it to get under her skin on purpose, like, is there anything you're doing to be kind of petty?
Yeah. I don't know. That whole scenario just doesn't seem right to me.
I am the stay-at-home mom, and he goes to work the 9-to-5 job. You would think he would be the main provider financially then, right? Since he's bringing in the money. Wrong. He won't help pay for the house bills or his daughter's expenses, only his personal bills, which is only 2 bills because his mother pays the rest of his bills payments. He hasn't even bought a single outfit for his child in the last 2 years of her being born. I've provided everything for our child. He expects me to use the money.
Okay, wait. So it's his child when he's not providing. It's our child when you're providing. Terminology matters. Terminology matters.
Right.
That is a very combative.
Oh, I didn't even catch that.
That's a very combative statement.
Yeah.
You won't buy clothes for your daughter. They're our daughter. And if you said Samantha is her name made up. If Samantha needed clothes, you should be like, babe, Samantha needs a couple of new outfits. I need some money.
Yeah.
That's the difference in that entire conversation. That's how you word that. You don't do your daughter.
Right.
I don't like that shit.
I'm glad you caught that.
Of course I caught that because
didn't.
I've heard shit like that in my life. That's not okay.
Right.
That's aggressive as fuck. Like, you are changing the entire conversation by saying shit like that. Even jokingly, your daughter shit herself, you need to go change the diaper. That's aggressive.
Right.
Samantha needs her diaper changed. Nothing changed in my tone. Samantha needs her diaper changed. Your daughter shit herself. She needs a new diaper. Go change the diaper.
Yeah, the second one definitely is a little bit more aggressive.
It's 2 different conversations. How you speak to people matters.
You know, usually I would have caught that, but I was more focused on why is he working a full-time job and then his mom is helping him pay bills?
Right.
Like, if
Well, what is his full-time job?
Right. That's also a good question. Okay, I'm going to continue reading before I formulate any opinions. He expects me to use the money I got from my trust fund, which is meant to be for our daughter's future. So trust funds. Can you explain that for me a little bit?
Somebody died and left her money.
Okay, that's a trust fund.
Or they started a trust fund for her when she was a kid. When she turned 18, she was able to access it.
Okay.
Those are not to live off of.
Right.
Those are for emergencies, college, a house. That's not something you dip into.
Right.
Dipping into trust funds is how you end up broke. You save that money until you're ready to put a down payment on a house, or until you need to go to college, or your kid needs to go to college. You should never dip into that unless it's a fucking emergency. You don't dip into that to buy PlayStations and clothes. And say you got $100,000 when you turned 18. You take $50,000 of that and put it into mutual funds and find somebody that can handle that money. Or if you can, and I've never had money like that just given to me, so I don't know. But if you have that in the bank, maybe put half of it into a savings account. Figure out how much of that money you need to pay a Roth IRA at $6,000 a year into that savings account, and use that money to get into a Roth.
That's
if you
smart.
can't just put it all into a Roth right off rip. Because I know a Roth you can only put $6,000 a year into, but I don't know if your initial investment could be more than that. I don't know. That's why I pay somebody to handle this shit, and I tell him how much money to move to do what, and he does it.
Right.
But sitting in a trust fund, your interest rate on a trust fund is not going to be very high.
No.
If you're only making percent or 2% when you could be making 12 to 13%, there's a big fucking difference on what you're gaining. And I also don't know if they're going to get taxed every time they move that money out, or if they get penalized every time they move that money out. There's a whole lot of questions there because I don't know the trust funds, the thing. But
yeah, that makes me uncomfortable.
What?
That she's taking money out of the trust fund to survive.
Right. It bothers me too. If my daughter called me and was like, "Hey, I need to pull money out of the trust fund," I'd be like, "No, the fuck you don't."
Right.
No, you don't. Do not do that.
Yeah.
How much money do you need? Like I would send it to her before I let her touch anything like that. It's a trust fund also could be that her family had a trust, like I have a trust, and when you die, everything that's in the trust gets transferred. That trust gets transferred to whoever is the name on the trust. So that could be the entire estate. We don't really know. It could be businesses too. It could be a lot. You can put a lot into a trust.
Right. He expects me to use the money I get from my trust fund, which is meant for our daughter's future. Finally, after countless battles of him chipping in for bills and groceries, he said he's only going to do $350 a month. Mind you, we live in California, and that doesn't mean help in the slightest, but I'll take what I can get, I guess. You know, you could get more money if you leave him and go after child support. Moving onwards. No, not moving onwards. He's really living like you guys are co-parenting, and he's giving you money weekly for the child.
I couldn't feed myself on $350 a week.
No.
We spend that for the two of us and some of the kids at BJ's alone. That doesn't even count the Publix runs and all of the other food that we buy. Picking
up veggies when we need it when necessary.
Yeah, that's nothing. That's nothing. And if he's working minimum wage, that's one of his 4 paychecks.
That's unacceptable to me. If we are in a relationship and we have a child together, that is unacceptable. Yeah.
Men are supposed to provide.
They are. You know, it doesn't even have to be a man. If it's a woman and she's working and the dad is at stay at home, it's on her to provide.
Right. Well, yeah, if somebody's a stay at home, it is on that person. Right. I agree.
If you're in a relationship like ours, that's when I am on like the stance of the man should be providing. If you have this agreement, he needs to step up or...
Right. Well, we've talked about this in previous episodes too. If the woman wants to be the breadwinner and the dad is a stay at home, he provides in other ways. But there still needs to be provision. I don't know. That whole situation's just not right.
Fast forward and many issues later, this past year our sex life has been non-existent. He knows what I need in return for me wanting to have sex. You know when girls say it's the little things like randomly coming up behind me while I'm cooking and holding me, cuddling me on the couch, giving me soft kisses throughout the day without shoving your tongue down my throat. Giving me compliments, it's rubbing my back when I'm in pain, etc. It's lacking the intimacy. And intimacy is more than sex.
No, intimacy is everything that you just listed.
Right. That's what she meant.
I know that.
Yeah.
I'm reiterating that point.
Okay.
Because she said it's the little things. And then she said it's the lack of intimacy.
Yeah, I was about to say that is intimacy.
Everything she listed there is the intimacy.
It is.
And it's also the most exciting part of your relationship. Without that, you are roommates.
Yeah.
Who sleep together every once in a while. Quit looking at me like that.
I just enjoy our relationship. Like, I can get intimacy from no one else, and you make a concerted effort to make sure I feel loved regularly.
Yeah, this is my job.
It's nice.
It's important to me.
Do you feel like I put effort into loving you? Okay. If I'm slacking, I need to know. I might cry a little bit, but I need to know.
Yeah?
Yeah.
All right.
But we have the same argument because I do tell him this. I do communicate to him what I need and desire. In return, again, the whole in one ear and out the other comes into play still. He doesn't listen and instead locks himself in his room for the rest of the day or night.
Got a man-child.
So they have separate rooms.
Well, it's probably like a game room or where his computer is. And I'm assuming that that's what it is and they call it his room.
I would need clarification.
Yeah.
Because I'm not saying it's abnormal to sleep in separate rooms. It's very...
It happens.
It is. I'm not going to say it's common, but it's natural for some people. I understand that.
I think so. Yes, I understand that works for some people, and I'm not shitting on people who do this when I say this. But for the average person, that is an intimacy killer.
Right.
If you snored because of how light my sleep is, I would have to sleep in another room. But I would go to bed with you and I would stay there until you fell asleep. And then I would quietly go to my room because I'm not fucking going to bed without you.
Oh, stop. That's going to make me cry.
I'm serious. I go to bed when you go to bed,
Right.
or you go to bed when I go to bed. In the events that I get up at 4 a.m. and 7:30 rolls around and I'm exhausted and ready for bed by 8, we go to bed. I'm like, babe, I'm exhausted. I'm ready to go lay down. And you're like, okay. And we just turn everything off. And we go and you watch TV until you fall asleep.
Yeah.
But we go to bed together. So in the event that I needed a separate room, we would still fall asleep, or you would fall asleep in the bedroom with me. And then I would make my way to the other room so that I could sleep because I am such a light sleeper. But
I don't know how I would navigate that situation because at like 4 a.m. when you get up and come to the couch, I have to come back. I have to come out to the couch to fall back to sleep.
yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, I'm not worried about that. You don't snore, but
Right. But if that were like, what if I get older and I gain some weight and it's a thing?
that won't be a thing.
Okay. You're right. I'm not going to gain weight.
That's
but
right. Because I would tell you the moment I noticed you were getting chunky.
I appreciate that.
So we've talked at length about man children and women dating men who live with their mothers
Yeah.
because they just don't want to move out. This is one of those scenarios that you don't date man children. You got a selfish man. You bred with him. His mother pays his bills and all of his checks go to whatever he wants to spend them on.
Yeah.
And when you try to have a conversation with him, he gets pouty like a fucking child and then locks himself in his room and does whatever he does because he doesn't want to face you or have to deal with the consequences of his actions. That's what I heard from all of that.
I agree with that.
Okay. Just making sure we're on the same page.
Yeah. I'm also wondering, what was it like before you had a child? Because if all of this was already in place and all of this was already a problem, you've seen it. You
Right.
can't expect somebody to change because now there's a child involved.
Right.
It might actually make them more resentful if they didn't want to have a child.
Well, it's even more than that. Having a child changes the relationship
It does.
because you are no longer the only person in the house that matters. Now there's a baby in the house and now there's arguments over sleep, postpartum depression,
Yeah.
whose turn it is to watch the baby, whose turn it is to change the diaper, and then potty training, teething, fucking teething.
Ooh, teething was rough.
Yeah, you guys are going to find a whole slew of problems if you can't get along before a baby's had. And I'm not shitting on her. This is
Right.
just a general statement for everybody that wants to have kids. If your relationship is not on point, don't fucking breed.
Don't. If you're already having problems, a child is just going to add to those already existing problems because you're going to be sleep deprived, you're going to be cranky.
And that's not something you can just get over. That's something you have to live with for the next
Yeah.
18 years.
I'm also wondering, was this a planned child? Because I feel like men's demeanor changes depending on how the child was conceived.
I don't know anything about that.
Just from what I've noticed on the internet and conversations on how people explain relationships.
I can tell you that when a man is financially stable, he is a different father than he is if he's got to grind and provide and like stress.
Right. I agree with that.
Men are different fathers at later ages in life too. You know, you have a man in his 20s, 30s, or 40s. All three of them are going to father differently.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think it's, what I'm referring to, let me see if I can clarify, is if there's a situation where they're dating, but there's a lot of arguing and neither of them are really happy, and then the good times are really only when they're having sex. There's really no intimacy. And then a child is conceived, but like there was never really a discussion of becoming a family.
Right.
And he's not willing to give up his video games and his partying and doing whatever he wants because he wasn't prepared for that lifestyle. I feel like that would also make him a different father.
Yeah, but you know that's also that speaks a lot to somebody's character.
Right.
Because a mother doesn't get to be like, well, I want to play video games and do this, so the baby can just go lay in its own filth.
Yeah.
Somebody's got to take care of that child. And normally when you have a man child, it's the woman who has to do that because a man child is not willing to step up and take care of his child.
That's what I'm describing.
I
as a
know
man
that.
child, yeah.
I was just pointing out that it's a very one-sided thing because a woman doesn't get that option.
It is a very one-sided thing. My point is, if you're already living in a scenario where things are tumultuous and he doesn't want to give up video gaming to give you attention,
Yeah.
or if he is...
Oh, you mean before the baby's born?
Yeah, before the baby is born. And his mom is helping him pay bills, and all of this is happening pre-child, and then all of a sudden you're pregnant, and none of you really talked about it, and now there's a child involved. That's a more stressful situation. He's not very likely to just jump on board and be like, okay, now everything's lovey-dovey.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Did that make more sense?
It did. I think that we're kind of saying the same thing,
I agree.
but I think that I'm trying to make a slightly different point, but I'm still wording it the same way, so it doesn't really matter.
Okay.
I don't, you know that they, I just stuttered a whole lot of nonsense right there. There was ums and uhs and theys and this and that and like, and nothing came out. They're saying that younger generations are not breeding the way that my generation did, and that's good. Because most of them are not capable of raising a child. Shit, most of my generation when we were breeding was not ready to have children. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but it was expected almost.
Right. Oh, absolutely was. My biological mom was trying to get me to get my girlfriend knocked up when I was 12. Yeah,
Stop.
real shit. She wanted me to have grandbabies when I was 12 and 13 years old. It's fucking cuckoo. Cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. We don't do that shit. Knowing what I know and having a daughter of my own, my daughter waited to have her first baby, until she was in her 20s. And I would have rather her waited until she had a career.
Yeah.
If I could give one piece of advice to anyone out there who doesn't have kids, wait until you are financially stable. Get your college done if that's what you're doing, or learn your trade, get a career in a field, work that field for a little while, and find a good man who is motivated and wants children, then breed. And if you can't do that, you shouldn't really have kids, because if you bring a child into this world and you're struggling financially, it's going to get a whole lot worse when there's another mouth to feed.
Yes, it will.
And like finding places to live, daycares on top of work. There's a whole lot of things that are going to come into play when you've got to take care of that child that a lot of people don't think about.
Yeah. So moving on, she said she communicates all of it, and one ear out the other comes into play. He locks himself in his bedroom. We went from having sex 3 to 4 times a week to maybe 1 or 2 times a month. Something definitely changed in that. I want to know when that changed.
Probably when the baby was born. That's a very normal thing when there's a kid there. You're exhausted now. You don't know if the kids are going to wake up. Like, the idea of going once or twice a month, though.
That's definitely a conversation.
No, that's a whole lot more than a conversation. I would fall the fuck apart.
Yeah?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. I want to say so many things right now, but I'm trying to not be vulgar on YouTube. So I'm going to say this as vanilla as I can.
Okay.
When we lay down at night, we have a routine.
Yeah.
Holy shit, we have a routine.
What?
It's the same thing every night. It literally just dawned on me. It is the same thing every night. I turn the TV on, put my phone on the charger, and then lay down.
Right.
You lay on my chest until your shoulder hurts, and then you roll over. And then I put my calf on your butt until I'm ready to roll over. And when I'm ready to roll over, I roll over and tuck both of my thighs or my knees in behind your knees.
Yeah.
Every night. I've never equated that. It's just something we do.
Yeah.
So now that I've recognized that pattern, that's a thing every time. In the event that I tuck my knees behind your knees and you move, it's game on. That's the only vanilla way that I can say that.
Okay.
So to imagine being with somebody for a month and only getting it once or twice.
Yeah.
How does that even happen?
I mean, if they have separate rooms.
Guys, I'm sorry that I gave you all that information. That was as vanilla as I could put it.
I didn't even recognize that as a routine.
I didn't either until I just started thinking about, like, because we do the same thing every night.
Is that a bad thing?
No, it's comfort, because I know that when that doesn't happen, something's wrong. The only time that has not happened is when you had your migraine.
Yeah, when I had my migraine.
And that was because you were not about shit that night. Your head went underneath the blanket and you laid in bed, and that was that.
Yeah.
And I had to listen to the TV on volume 7.
Oh,
I could barely even hear the shit.
I appreciate that so much.
So
I laid down, I closed my eyes, and I was under that blanket for like maybe 10 minutes, and I lightly fell asleep.
Yeah. I think we just got another Patreon.
Hell yeah.
Yep. So speaking of which,
Patreon.
if you guys haven't yet, check out our Patreon. It's $10 to $15 a month, depending on the subscription that you take. Both of them give you exclusive content and some early releases. The $15 one will get you a live call, live streaming, chat, whatever you want to call it, every Friday night, which normally lasts for an hour to 2 hours.
Yeah.
We do random pop-ups every once in a while. It's only happened a couple of times, but it does happen. And you get unfettered access to us in that we check the messages there
Right.
a lot differently than the emails.
If we get an email from Patreon,
Those
it goes
get
into a
priority.
separate folder that we film almost immediately
Yeah.
to go onto Patreon.
Well, no, it is. That's how it worked out today. We got one last night, and as soon as we started recording this morning, we recorded for Patreon.
Yep.
Patreon gets exclusive content. They get priority over everything because you guys are actually paying us to do what we're doing.
Yep.
And if it wasn't for Patreon, we wouldn't have been able to do all of the upgrades and things that we are currently doing because YouTube gets their money the way they get their money. Patreon gets they get 1 to 2% of everything we make. So if you subscribe to Patreon for $15, we're getting like $13 of that. And it
Yeah.
actually does help us grow the channel. It makes it so that, we get to the point where we don't have to work anymore. We can do this full time. That would be super dope. But
It would be dope. Go to Patreon.
yeah, we really appreciate it. Also, we have a super dope community over there.
We really do.
Our live chats are getting to the point where like you and I will have a conversation and then look down at the live chat to see what's going on in the chat to see if they're interacting with us and they're talking to each other.
Yeah, totally irrelevant to what
Yeah.
we're speaking on.
Yep, I love it. I think that it's super dope, and I love all the people over there. Like, we know everyone on a first name basis, and
We know their stories.
Yeah.
We know their home life.
Yeah.
One of them has a pet raccoon. I like seeing pictures of.
yeah, Bandit. Very cool shit, guys.
It is very cool shit.
Yeah,
I do just genuinely enjoy all of them.
yeah.
Everything they contribute, the way that their minds work.
It also works too because it gives us a soundboard.
It does.
Because I can send like the opposite friends or friends of the opposite sex video that we did as a trial. I put that on Patreon.
Yeah.
Give me your feedback. We got a shit ton of feedback, so now we know how to move those moving forward. That's going to work because it's not just our opinions
Right.
or our opinions and AJ's opinions. There's others involved. What?
I just read the next sentence.
Oh, read the next sentence. You don't get to get excited and keep it from me.
I'm not excited. I'm shocked. So she ended that paragraph when composure. She ended that paragraph with, we went from having sex 3 to 4 times a week to maybe 1 to 2 times a month.
Right.
We had a dialogue. We derailed. Very next sentence, it's gotten so bad that now he's cheating on me with my best friend.
Okay, so one that's not your best friend.
No, it is not.
That's not how that works.
Oh,
She-
wait. Okay. Very next sentence, well, I consider it cheating.
Well, what is it?
Remember me saying all the cuddling and small romantic gestures that I needed? He does it easily with my best friend right in front of me 2 feet away. They're fucking.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Your boyfriend and your best friend are having sex.
Yeah. That's not your best friend, not anymore. If your best friend is tolerating that and allowing that to happen, even if they're not fucking, that's not your friend.
She said, I'm just waiting for the day I catch them making out. Maybe I'm being crazy. Maybe I'm overreacting. Maybe. He makes sure I feel like it's all my fault.
What? How is that your fault? His actions are your fault?
You're waiting for the day to catch them making out. Why? I would hate to live in that mindset.
Yeah.
Am I going to walk into my living room and see my man and my best friend making out? Where's the self-worth? You have any?
This is one of those things where like I don't want to be like you should leave him, but you're not like there's without all of this, without the cheating and the best friend betrayal, because I do believe the best friend is betraying her, even if it's not sexual, like actual intercourse, she's betraying her best friend.
100%.
All of the other things that were talked about before that point are things that I don't see him changing.
Right. I agree with that.
He's selfish. And now knowing that he's cheating and doing what he's doing with your best friend proves that he doesn't give a shit about you or the baby. He just wants to do what he wants to do and expects you to just deal with it. I don't know what to say to that. Like, you need to, if you really believe that he's messing around with your best friend and you can't prove it and you need that proof to break things off or move forward, you need to end things with your best friend. And be like, what you're doing and allowing him to do by touching you and giving you pet names and all of that shit is crossing the line. You have betrayed my trust. I would say it to both of them, actually, because he's definitely doing it too. But I would tell the best friend, you're not welcome in my home anymore. I don't want you here.
He's just not going to come home then.
Right. Well, and then you would know.
Yeah.
Or if he gets super defensive and be like, what the fuck, babe? She's my friend too, blah, 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 and tries to bring her around even though you've stated your piece. Now you know. There's something going on there, though.
Yeah, there definitely is.
If you have told him in a non-threatening, non-aggressive way that you need attention, and you guys had normal communication about that, and he knows that you need these things, and he's actively doing it in front of you, what does that say about how he feels about you or respects you? Like, that is a fucking slap in the face.
You have a daughter. Do you want her to grow up thinking the way that you're being treated is normal?
Or okay.
If you stay with this man, your daughter is going to grow up and be in the exact same situation you're in now because she's not going to know that she's worth more. Because if it's good enough for mom, it's good enough for me.
$350 a month for food, and he doesn't even pay his own bills. I'm curious where the rest of his money goes to.
Probably whatever he wants.
Right. But I'm saying, like, if they needed new furniture, is he going to buy the furniture? Or is she going to buy it? Because she's doing this on her own, and the only thing that she's getting out of this is sex once to twice a month. She's not getting intimacy.
No.
She's not getting emotional validation. She's not getting help with the baby.
It sounds like they're not in a relationship.
It absolutely sounds like that. It sounds like they're roommates and they're fucking once to twice a month. And it doesn't even sound like he's paying rent. It sounds like his mom is paying his rent and he's buying his own groceries.
Right.
The only thing that she's doing is probably help doing his laundry and mommying him when his mom's not around.
I wonder what he tells his friends his situation is. Or his coworkers. I couldn't imagine, because I know dudes who are in a relationship and go to work and be like, oh yeah, she's just my kid's mom and we live together and we co-parent.
Oh yeah, you hear that shit all the time.
So is that the story that he's portraying at work?
Yeah.
Is that what his friends know you as?
Right.
If he's so open about being cuddly with your best friend in front of you.
Yeah, sometimes things that are said are the ones that are not actually being said.
Yeah.
I also would like to point out the fact that there are women who do the same thing.
I agree.
And I only need to say that so that there aren't people in the comments going, well, women do it too.
Yeah. Everything we speak on is capable by every human being.
Yep.
So.
Is she asking for advice or is she just needing to vent?
I don't know. Let's continue reading.
Okie dokie.
I took your advice about check-ins. We sit down and have a chat. The only problem is I'm the only one checking in. I feel like I'm the only one who cares enough to see how he's doing, what our issues are, and how to work through them.
So during the check-in, he's not actually engaging?
No.
Okay, so he's checked out.
Right. Yeah. All he does is roll his eyes and say, okay, sorry, won't happen again. That's how I feel.
That's not how check-ins work.
No. He's saying what he has to say to placate her, and it works.
Right, but that is not check-ins.
No.
That's not how that's supposed to go. If you guys are doing check-ins, the check-ins are not about shitting on your partner. You're supposed to be getting feedback about you on your check-ins. Mm-hmm. How is your mental health? That's them question. How am I doing as your partner? Is there anything that I can do that I'm not doing as your partner? What is something I've done wrong this week? What is something I've done good this week? If you were to rate our sex life on a scale of 1 to 10, these are questions that are supposed to be a report card to you.
Yeah.
So if you're doing a check-in and you're just shitting on your partner because of what they're doing, that's not a check-in. If they're not asking you these questions and they are, because she said he's not engaging,
right,
which means she's just dumping on him and he's not asking her questions, that's not how that works. In the event that you said, how am I doing as a wife? And what can I do better as a wife? And I say, you've done pretty good this week. There was a couple times that you didn't do laundry. Mm-hmm. It's not a negative statement. It's just something I noticed. And something that you could do better as a wife. When you come home, no matter what I'm doing, I would like you to come over and give me a kiss to just let me know you miss me. Some made up shit. Right. Super easy, right? Obviously, there could be worse things that could be said there, but that's just two simple things that I thought of real quick just to give an example. Mm-hmm. And you were to say, sorry, won't happen again about the laundry. I'm like, wait a minute, that's not what that was.
Right.
I'm not shitting on you. I'm just saying that you didn't do it. So is your workload too heavy? Because this is supposed to be a time for conversation. We're supposed to be discussing the entire scenario so that our lives can be better when this check-in is over. It's not about shitting on somebody. Mm-hmm. And if you're like, well, I'm like, I would appreciate a kiss every time you walk to the door, and you're like, babe, sometimes I've got groceries in my hands. I just can't do that. And I'm like, well, just do it. After we get the groceries in, just kiss me. Give me a hug, touch my butt, let me know that I'm loved. It's not a matter of doing it right this second. I just need to know that I'm missed when you're not around me. Mm-hmm. And that's a me thing. None of that requires any type of conflict. You just have a simple discussion about how to make this work so that each partner can get what they need. This is the perfect time for her to go, how am I doing as a if he was to ask her, how am I doing as a husband and what can I do better? She could say then, I'm lacking intimacy. I don't feel that I'm getting enough attention. So on the how you're doing as a husband part, I feel like you could give me a little more attention. Maybe an hour or two a night where we watch a movie or we start planning dates. That's the conversation that needs to be had. How am I, what can I do better? Well, you could start pitching in a little bit more than $350 a month because that's not enough to even buy your groceries, let alone groceries for our child. And I need help. You're not shitting on your partner. You are having a dialogue on how to make your household better. And when the check-ins are over, everything that was said in the check-in stays there.
Right.
You start working on things to fix moving forward. Your report card is supposed to be indicative of your behavior. So if he asks you, how am I doing a husband, and you shit on him, it's his fucking fault. Like,
yeah. Well, he's not getting engaged at all.
right, which means she's probably just unloading on him during the check-ins.
So if somebody is not engaged and they're not asking the questions, how am I doing as a husband? How would you initiate the conversation of I'm lacking intimacy in our relationship?
I wouldn't try a check-in.
No,
because
Okay.
if he's not willing to ask the questions, he's not there.
Okay.
If you were to ask me those things, and then I'd be like, okay, and you're like, well, aren't you going to ask me? And I'm like, yeah, I don't know, I'm good. That's not a
Right.
check-in. That's you trying to get what you need and me rejecting your efforts to make us better.
Yeah.
On the intimacy aspect, I would get him in the car.
Yeah. Go driving.
I would get him in the car because you can't really be on your phone if he's driving. So get him in the car while he's driving. Turn the radio off and be like, babe, can we talk about a couple of things? Like, I have some things that you could say I have something on my mind that I've been thinking about for like 2 or 3 weeks. Do you mind if we talk about it while we're driving to wherever we're going? Sam's Club, whatever. Because now you're going to engage him with a question, not saying we need to talk, because it's going to make him defensive. And then once that happens, you could say something along the lines of, I'm starting to feel lonely. We live together. We only have sex once or twice a month. I don't feel like I don't feel like you are as present as you used to be in our lives. And I would like to try to find out what caused the separation between you and I, and what we need to do to get back on track. If I need to engage more, then tell me. Because if you need that intimacy and you're not willing to do the work to do it, you don't get to complain about it.
Right.
Sometimes you have to be the bigger person to get things back on track until things are smooth back out. So in the event that you have to try to engage in the intimacy and be the one that's hugging in the kitchen and doing that stuff, if you were trying to love on me all the time and I just walked away from it, that would be another problem. In the event that I was in the kitchen, you came up behind me and put your hands around me, and I walked away from that, and that happened a couple of times, you would stop. You would stop trying to engage me in that aspect. Sorry, managers are messaging. I don't have a choice but to respond to those.
Right.
In the event that you came up behind me and wrapped your arms around me, and I turned around and engaged you face to face, kissed your forehead, grabbed you by your throat and kissed you, whatever. I am engaging in that intimacy that you engaged, and we get to have an intimate moment. In that intimate moment, are you frustrated that you had to engage that, or are you happy that you had the intimate moment?
Oh, are you asking me?
I'm saying in that scenario, would it bother you?
No.
Because you get the intimacy.
Right.
Squeaky wheel gets the grease. Like, that's just the way things need to go sometimes. And I understand that feeling like you're the only one engaging may make you feel like you're the only one that cares. You have no idea what your partner's going through mentally. You don't know what their mindset is like. You don't know where their depression is, especially if they're not engaging in a check-in. You don't know how their mental health is.
Right.
There's a lot of factors that go in there. And you engaging me in intimacy when I'm fucking depressed changes my depression. Because if I don't get that intimacy when I'm going through that, I'm going to continue to get worse. Those little reprieves of happiness during my depression and comfort matters. So if I didn't tell you I was depressed and you were engaging in that constantly and then just quit one day, I'm going to spiral even further.
Yeah.
A lot of this just comes down to being able to communicate with your partner. And the problem is people don't want to just talk. They want to throw shade at each other and blame because they're hurt.
Right.
And that's not how you approach a situation. If you're not happy, you don't want to make your partner not happy because now you're fighting. You want to process your shit and then have a conversation. When you come sideways at anyone, you're not going to have positive resolution.
Yep.
It's just not going to happen. Yelling, screaming, throwing things, throwing blame, none of that's going to help you with your problems. It's just not.
You have anything else you want to add?
No.
Okay, so I'm going to hit a point.
You hit a bunch of them. I've been fucking running my mouth for like 20 minutes.
So he says, okay, sorry, won't happen again. It sounds like he's been saying that throughout the whole relationship whenever you come to him about something. So you do not have any clearly defined boundaries and consequences when those boundaries are crossed. And that triggered something I heard earlier today. I heard someone say, it's not that I want to date her, so a chick moved on, she's in a new relationship. This is from the ex-boyfriend. Not that I want to date her, I just don't like the idea that I can't anymore because I always assumed I just could.
Right.
And that's because every time he left and did something shitty, she always came back when he was the nice guy and wanted the love.
Right. That's a common occurrence.
It is. So I view those two situations as the same thing. He's showing you that he's not interested.
Right. You also know that when people believe that you were never going to go anywhere, they're going to overstep every boundary you have regardless because they know that you're not, you're going to
have
take
no
backbone. Yeah. This falls right back into the last episode that we did about self-worth. When you know your value and you know what you contribute and what you bring to the relationship, you won't let somebody do that shit to you.
Right. That's when I feel it goes in one ear and out the other, because by the next day, he's right back to whatever our issues are and continues to do them day in and day out. I've asked to do therapy because I truly want us to work. He shot therapy down so hard, so it's a never-ending cycle of the same arguments every single day.
So even if you did therapy, because he doesn't want to do therapy, therapy wouldn't work.
Right.
You can go to Home Depot and not buy tools and not get the job done. Therapy is a way to get guidance and tools. They don't fix you. You're going to go there and give out your shit, and the therapist is going to give you conversation tips and ways to work through your problems and may point out flaws and character flaws and things like that, but a therapist can't fix somebody.
Right.
And not wanting to go to therapy and making someone go to therapy or giving an ultimatum and forcing them to go is not going to benefit anyone. It's just not. They're going to go to therapy and they're going to be resentful. They're going to be quiet. It's going to be an uneventful scenario. Unless they actually want to engage.
Right. So I have a point I want to make, but I'm going to finish the email. I come from a broken family, divorce, and then losing my dad when I was 9 to alcohol. Life as a kid was hard for me. Low-key, kind of traumatic. So to kind of sum up everything, I guess I stayed around for my daughter. I want her to have a family and not a broken one like I did. But I am doing more damage potentially by keeping him around and having these day in and day out fights. Yes. If your daughter is witnessing daily fights between you and her father, it is going to damage her as an adult. She is not going to know how to have a healthy communication style. She's going to have men that verbally abuse her, men that could possibly physically abuse her because you didn't show her what standards are in a relationship.
Yep.
Was that too harsh?
No, I was going to let you go for a little bit before I chime back in because I've been talking a lot.
Okay. I'm not trying to bash him completely. We do have good, rare moments together still. He's a fantastic father to our daughter. Our daughter lights up when she sees him every day after work. And if we were to split, not seeing her face light up every day when he walks in those doors will break my heart. So he can be a good dad, but he can't be a good boyfriend to you. Him being a good father does not correlate to him being a good husband or a good boyfriend.
Right. Which is going to create problems for that kid either way.
Right.
The kid might be happy to see her dad right now, but over time that's going to change.
Especially if this is how he is.
Right. Especially if there's constantly screaming and fighting. And what if that screaming and fighting gets worse and it gets to the point where things get thrown or broken or violence breaks out? Like, that's not a good environment for a child.
Right.
And there are men out there who don't care if a woman has a kid and will still be with them and will take those children on as a bonus parent or bonus children and be a good person. This comes down to the quality of someone's character.
Right.
This comes down to don't date men who fucking depend on their parents to take care of them because they're not men. There is a difference between a man and a boy. I don't know why we have to explain this so fucking much or why this is even a conversation. And I said it, I think in episode 11, or it might have been in the frustrated one. When I was younger, if a man lived with his mom, he wasn't getting play from a woman. A woman would be like, well, yeah, right, and laugh at him. Now they're like, oh, it's okay.
Yeah.
You think that he's going to grow up for you? He didn't do it for himself.
Nope. So this is a total hypothetical in regards to this email, but I just wanted to throw it out there because this could be a scenario for somebody. So she says they're boyfriend and girlfriend. Are you guys actually boyfriend and girlfriend, or is it you guys have been on again, off again? You guys are now, you have a child together. You want to make it work as a family. He's not really on board with the idea, but you're really pushing, like, we can go to therapy. We can make this work. That's a different scenario than you guys are both on the same page in a relationship, because it sounds like he's in a relationship with your best friend.
Right. It does sound like that.
It sounds like he's in a relationship with your best friend and you guys are co-parenting. Did that theory make sense?
No, I mean, yeah. I mean, it does. If it sounds like they're co-parenting with her believing that they're still in a relationship.
Right. Or she wants to make the relationship work with the hopes of implementing of all these things. And
I'm hung up on the best friend thing now that you brought that back up.
Yeah, I don't foresee anything from our conversations that we have in any of our videos that is going to help the situation.
You know. So, okay, damn it. They're best friends, right?
Right.
In the event that they are actually doing the deed and she goes to her best friend in confidence to vent, if the boyfriend and the best friend are doing the deed, the best friend is giving all the dirt to the boyfriend.
Oh, yeah. I guarantee they're making fun of her.
There is a triangle of shit talking going on, and she's the fucking joke of all of it.
Yep.
I would be willing to put money that the boyfriend and the best friend are doing it. If they're acting like that in front of her and neither one of them care to stop it, because if the best friend wasn't involved in any of that and he did some shit like that, you would check that.
Right.
If a dude tried to touch you in front of me and you weren't like, what the fuck, and like made a scene about it to stop the shit, it would be a problem. I mean, obviously I'm still going to stop it from happening too, but like I would expect you first and foremost to deal with that.
Right.
To check them, to let them know that it's not okay. And then I would step in and reaffirm that that's not okay. But I would want to see how you would handle that, because if you let that shit ride, you and I would have a problem.
Oh, I know. I almost said the C word.
Yeah.
It would not be a good situation.
I would want you to be the C word.
Yeah.
I'd want you to hurt feelings.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'd want somebody to go home and have to feel for their balls because they're no longer where they're supposed to be. I'd want them to leave with them feeling they're somewhere up in their stomach. Like, it's just not okay. You don't do that.
Going back to the whole she's the joke of everything, I wonder what it was the first time she caught them cuddling on the couch or they're doing intimate things. I bet they had a conversation of, let's do this and see what she says. And then she didn't say anything. And they're like, we got away with it. What else can we do in front of her?
Right.
And now it's to the point that they're cuddling on the couch and she is saying absolutely nothing while begging this man to be in a relationship with her. They're probably laughing about her.
Yeah, maybe. It could have also been one of those things that they just got so used to being around each other and doing what they were doing that they started doing it in front of her, not thinking about it because it was habitual. There's not a scenario where that's okay. The more we discuss that, the more fucked up it becomes.
Yeah. I wouldn't try to make it work with this man.
No.
You just have to accept the fact that you had a child with a piece of shit man.
If you were dead set and not willing to walk away, and this is just you're dead set on making this work, the best friend needs to be removed from the picture completely. Almost said the photo. Removed from the picture completely. He's going to have to somehow get involved in the check-ins and actually be present in that. And you are going to have to find a way to regain intimacy and make him want to be involved in the intimacy that's happening, because otherwise there's just no salvaging this.
No, there's not. It's all based on his attitude.
Right. And he's selfish.
Yeah, you can push all you want and try to implement all these changes and suggest all these things that could help you guys. If his attitude is against it, you're beating a dead horse.
Yeah, you can't make somebody change. You can't make them do something they don't want to do.
Yep. Well, got nothing else to say.
You know, when we get these emails, there are a lot of times that we get emails that we can really help the situation, but there are things for me that show me that somebody doesn't want to do something. And when somebody tells you things like, this is who I'm not changing, there's nothing you can do about that. Like, you can't force them to change. They're telling you that that's that. When they're obviously fooling around with somebody else in front of you, when they refuse to engage in communication, when they shut down, lock the door, that's a communication breakdown. And not seeing the communication, I can't say it's his fault or your fault. Somebody somewhere is breaking down. And because I don't know how you're communicating, I don't know how to address the lack or the issue in the communication. Assuming that you've been watching our podcast and you've learned the communication techniques that we've talked about, you've tried them and he still shuts down, you're either not doing them right or he really just doesn't want to talk to you.
Right.
And because you said that he's only willing to give you $350 a month for groceries and his mom still pays his bills and he's not present, it sounds like he's very selfish. So that makes me assume that you are talking to him properly And because he doesn't want to hear it, he's taking the selfish route and locking himself in his room.
Yeah.
This is how I'm taking all of this. So when I say like he's this, and this, it's because of the way it's been laid out.
Right.
And because of the way it's been laid out, I don't see a reason for him to change. He has everything he wants.
Yeah.
He's got his baby's mama. He's got his kids. He's not paying child support. He's only paying $350 a month in groceries.
His life is easy.
His mom's paying for his fucking bills. He's fucking the best friend. Why would he want to change any of this?
Yep. Especially if all it takes is it won't happen again.
Right. Just to shut you up.
Yeah.
There's not a reason for him to want to be a better man. He has everything he wants. He's living the best of both worlds right now.
Yep.
Yep. That's what I got.
Well, moving that one. Alrighty. Love your advice. Oh, this is called My Situation.
Okay.
Love your advice and have been listening for a few weeks now. I have a situation I'd love your input on. I'm a 30-year-old female with no kids and a fiance. I'm 9 years into my graphic design career and burnt out without much interest left in continuing it.
I believe it. 9 years in a single field is a long time, especially in a graphic design field. I'm curious as to what kind of graphic design people do.
Yeah.
When you guys send us emails that's art related, I want all the details. Don't omit shit. Tell me what you do. You don't have to tell me who you work for.
If you can send examples.
Yeah, shit. Yeah,
That would
send
be
me
dope.
some fucking work. Like, cause you never know, you might get hired for a job from us.
Yeah.
Especially if you're in Patreon. If I can outsource work to somebody, it's going to Patreon before it goes to anyone else.
Yeah.
Because you guys are supporting us, and I'd want to do the same thing. A graphic design artist could be anything. You could be designing cards. You could be working for Disney. You could be
Yeah.
working for Pixar. You could be working for a Fortune 500 company. You could be working for a magazine, designing ads. You could be doing all kinds of shit. I am nosy, and I need to know.
I'm making a solid salary that includes health care, and it's WFH. So I'm stable, and it supports my mortgage and bills. My fiance doesn't live with me yet, but is here a few days a week. Throughout the 9 years of my career, I have also built up a side career as an artist. I'm award-winning for realism, and always have had a dream of tattooing that felt impossible due to the saturation of artists in our area. And I simply refuse to teach myself. I have a bit of old school mentality. I'd like to learn from someone experienced and not YouTube.
Yeah, I agree. But let me tell you something. If you're an award-winning realism artist and you have a good attitude, you can find somebody to apprentice you.
Oh, yeah.
And there is a difference between a tattoo artist and a tattooer.
Yes, there is.
So,
Recently, I made friends with a good shop and was offered an apprenticeship to start this June. I love that.
was it paid?
Are
Are they offering to do it for free? Is there a contract involved? I have so many questions. You're going to have to send me a follow-up email.
Yeah. They would like me there at least 2 days a week, closed Sundays, which means I need to ask my job if I can work 4 days a week instead of 5 to fit this education in. My fears, my job says no, and I either have to give up the apprenticeship or give up my stability and work part-time without healthcare while I apprentice for a year or two.
I can tell you that if you're only going in 2 days a week, and depending on the hours you put in, it's going to take a long time to finish that apprenticeship.
Yeah.
Yep. Apprenticeships are based off the amount of time that you can put in and your ability to learn. So, and it's a different medium. I don't know what your medium is. If you're using pencil or digital art or paint, all of those mediums work differently. So like if you're a graphic design person, I'm assuming that you're working all digital. You probably draw on a Wacom tablet or a Procreate on an iPad. Going to an oil base or oil paint, you have to now learn your medium, the way that you're going to mix it, all of that shit. There's a whole lot of learning curves that go into that. And you can teach yourself color theory by mixing oil paints, just like you can teach yourself tattoo pigments based off of that mixing, because digital is light. Pigment is pigment. So you're working with dye instead of working with light. It's a different learning curve. But 2 days a week in a tattoo studio is not enough.
It's not.
You're going to apprentice forever at that point. The upside of that, though, is if you are as good as you say you are, you don't have to learn any of the art foundation. If your tattoo artist friend is actually a friend, they're going to bypass a lot of the nonsense and just have you do counter help for a little while to establish your presence in the studio, learn the bloodborne pathogen shit, because you need to know to not cross-contaminate stuff, learn to set up and break down, and then you should be tattooing in no time if your art is where your art is supposed to be. Yeah.
Side notes, my fiance doesn't have a solid job because he's taking care of his elderly and disabled parents. He does some online work, but it's minimal and just barely helps with groceries. The mortgage, town bills, utilities, gas are on me. I don't want to put him under pressure since we aren't married yet, but his non-salary may affect my dream career coming to life.
Yeah. It absolutely will. You're taking on a child,
Yeah.
a grown child.
He is looking into getting paid as a care worker for his parents through the government, but we don't know if they'll qualify yet. We do have about $20,000 in savings each, but I don't want to run it dry. That's it.
That's the whole email?
That's the email.
So my advice in this scenario is don't move him in.
I agree with that. I mean, he's a caregiver.
Right. I even if he wasn't, not being a financially dependent human being, I would not let somebody mooch off me.
Right.
I'm just not. I don't care how much I love them. Unless they're bringing added value to my life in another form, I'm not supporting them. It's just all there is to that. So in that scenario, he's, other than being in love and you guys having a relationship, he's not adding value to your life by being in the home. If he was going to be a stay-at-home husband and take care of everything while you were working because he can't afford to do anything else, the only thing that's going to change in your expenses is groceries.
Right.
Because he's doing everything else. Your electric bill may go up a little bit, whatever. The apprenticeship thing, as a tattoo artist, you can make ridiculous money. Oh yeah. So if you're as good as you say you are and you get an apprenticeship and you're tattooing in a year, I don't know what you're making in terms of graphic design, but I'm willing to bet that if you're a great realism artist, you would probably double or triple your income.
Mm-hmm. People travel for that shit.
Yeah, they do. I used to have an artist client that would come from another country. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of money in tattooing. This is, especially if you're good at it. But that's the difference between a tattoo artist and a tattooer. If all you're doing is replicating, you're not going to make the kind of money that a tattoo artist makes. Mm-hmm. So, and having an understanding of art and values and shadows and light sources and understanding atmospheric aberrations and understanding warm and cool colors. And there's so much to it. And the more you understand it, the more money you're going to make tattooing because your leaps and bounds ahead of those who can just replicate flash.
Right.
Yep. It's into that conversation.
Okay.
Now, if he gets paid from the government and he's leaving your house in the morning to go take care of his elderly parents or whoever it was.
And coming home at night.
Right. What happens at nighttime if something goes wrong with the parents?
Right.
That's a whole other conversation.
He is doing that. He spends the night a couple nights a week.
Right. I think you guys should just keep living the way that you're living until you are both figured out what you're doing with your lives.
I would work longer days. Like if my job was like, no, you can't stop working a fifth day, I'd be like, okay, I'm going to add 2 more hours to my 4 other days.
Yeah. Or just try to get out a little bit earlier and go to the tattoo shop.
Yeah.
You have to figure out what's more important, the future and the dream job or the boyfriend. If he's really that in love with you and everything is that perfect, it'll hash out. Mm-hmm. You gonna call it?
Yeah, I'm tired.
Yeah, I can see that you're over there yawning. It's time to figure out dinner anyways.
Yeah, I'm struggling. Right.
We'll catch you guys on the next one.
Bye, guys.
For those of you who enjoy our content and would like to support us and help grow the channel, the easiest way to do that is a super chat here on YouTube. For those of you who really, really like the content and would like to see more of it, check out our Patreon group. It gets exclusive content that will never be seen here on YouTube, early release stuff for those of you who are just as impatient as I am, as well as live streams with a live chat every Friday night. If you can't afford to do either one of those or you're just not into that, the next best thing that you can do is share this with people who you feel may vibe with it. No matter how you decide to support us, it's super dope and we thank you.